No, I don't think any Venezuelan expected to see the day that they would see Nicolás Maduro in cuffs. It is an absolute motherload of resources. So for Americans, if they can come in and exploit it, they're going to be able to make a lot of money. And one of the things that I never knew, but talking to a friend of mine, was that Maduro's wife was even more hated than Nicolás Maduro. The way things are going, Venezuela will probably be in a better place than Britain.
Maybe we'll do the show in Venezuela.
Yeah, exactly. We'll be doing it in shirts and Hawaiian shirts.
Hello and Happy New Year from Harry Cole Saves the West. A remarkable start to the new year, not least in Caracas. And joining me to discuss all of that is Francis Foster, a British Venezuelan comedian, author, writer and host of the incredibly famous Triggernometry podcast. Welcome, Francis. Big fan. Thank you for coming on. As I said, you are a British Venezuelan.
Yeah, my mum is Venezuelan. So my mum came to this country about 50 years ago now from Venezuela. It was actually quite funny because people said to her, "Oh, did you come here looking for a better life?" And she's like, "No, Venezuela was a rich country." My dad came to London from Wigan. He was looking for a better life, but not my mum.
On that note, the decline and fall of Venezuela in its embrace of socialism and communism has, left a once great country in a terrible, horrific state of human suffering. Nicolás Maduro, we've seen today, perp-walked into the dock. There's remarkable photographs of him on the Imajima aircraft carrier. What was going through your mind and your reaction to that? Did you ever expect to see the day you'd see the tyrant in cuffs? No,
I don't think any Venezuelan expected to see the day that they would see Nicolás Maduro in cuffs. It was a hope, a desire, but it was very much a dream. You've got to remember that for the average Venezuelan, this has been 27 years in the making. Hugo Chavez came to power in 1999. That is a long time. And in that time, we've seen Venezuela fall from being the 5th biggest oil producer in the world to a country that barely produces oil anymore. A country where 9 million people have left. 9 million. It's got quality of life that is akin to Syria and countries like that. It's an absolute tragedy what's happened to Venezuela.
So when you see images of your own thoughts and images of Venezuelans, that diaspora, 9 million strong diaspora around the world, in other South American countries, large amount of them in America, lots of them in Spain as well, on the streets, cheering, celebrating, crying, as you exactly said, never thought you'd see the day of it. And then you fire up your laptop and you got every pinko, wokey, trust fund, Tarquin, your party MP, you name it, rent-a-gob, lefty idiot, saying that this is a disgrace. How does that make you feel?
Well, to be honest with you, Harry, that doesn't really bother me. What always bothered me is how, when Chavez came to power, and for the first years of his government, he was celebrated by the likes of Jeremy Corbyn and the rest of his...
Owen Jones, Diane Abbott, Chris Williamson, you name it. They were there. They were monitoring his bloody elections.
Absolutely, and saying, this is a face of socialism.
Ken Livingstone.
This is proving that the socialist system actually works. Venezuela is leading the way. And the thing that I don't mind that people got things wrong. I get things wrong, you get things wrong. What stuck in my craw was the fact that when my country went south, when family members of mine were put in prison, when people I knew were murdered, when people I knew were fleeing for their lives, or, like I said, tortured, there was never any admission of guilt. There was never any sorrow. There was never just putting their hand up and go, you know what, we got this wrong. That's what truly made me angry. Not this, because this to me is ridiculous. But at the time that you saw what the Chavez government was doing, and if you followed politics, you knew what they were doing. You knew they intimidated journalists. You knew they went to TV stations.
With the help of their useful idiots in the West.
Yeah. You knew what was going on. It became undeniable. Yet you never at any point felt that the Venezuelan people, all the people around the world who were connected to that country, deserved some kind of apology.
So look, obviously, the global left, set aside the sort of hard left, die-hard apologists for, countries that end up eating cats wherever they are around the world. It always ends up in the same god-awful situation. If this had been anyone but Donald Trump that had done this, do you think we'd be having a slightly different argument about the results of what has happened? Or do you think it only really could have been Donald Trump that would have the sort of craziness and the guts to do this? I mean, what did Biden put a 25 million bounty on Maduro's head, and now the Democrats are saying, "Oh no, he was never a threat to America," and they're in the left are in a bit of a mess about this. If it had been anyone else but Donald Trump, do you think this would be being celebrated far more than it currently is?
No, because it's so unconventional. It was so shocking. I've been talking about this, and Konstantin has as well, my co-host on Triggernometry, for the last 2 years, saying that the situation in Venezuela is untenable. It is untenable that you have, right on America's doorstep, a leader who is allied with China, who is allied with Iran, who is allied with Russia, who has Hezbollah training camps on the island of Margarita, which is literally, I think, a couple of hours' flight to Florida. You cannot have that. You cannot... Venezuela is known as El Puente. El Puente means bridge. And the reason why it's called the bridge is because they don't make cocaine in Venezuela. But the countries, Bolivia, Peru, Colombia, they transport the cocaine to Venezuela, and from Venezuela, it's distributed. And on top of that, you also have Maduro, who is openly flaunting his power, who says that he wants to invade Guyana and annex Guyana.
He redrew the map and distributed every school kid in the country.
Exactly. And he's saber-rattling. It was inevitable.
Slice off the tentacle of a wider global axis.
Something was going to happen. We all knew that something was going to happen. In politics, in the news, we all knew that something. But what none of us could have predicted was that something would be this.
I mean, obviously we've seen that, as you say, so elegantly. I mean, still, shock and awe isn't quite the right word because it was so clean. Leaving aside the obviously successful mission, this doesn't appear to be about regime change, though, does it? Trump is sort of slightly backing away from even fresh elections, saying it's not really my priority, but one day down the line, fine. The vast majority of the Maduro-Chavez machine, not least the army and the vice president, are still in place. So has anything really changed beyond the headline figure?
Well, I was talking to a friend of mine, and you will notice that in the press, all of these pictures of people, I presume to be Venezuelans, holding Venezuelan flags, being jubilant and celebrating. That's not on the streets of Caracas. That's in Madrid. That's in Miami. That's wherever else it may be.
Where they are free to be able to do that, presumably.
So my friend was actually saying to me that in the streets of Caracas on Saturday morning and throughout the day, it was deserted. Because in Venezuela, they have these groups called colectivos. And what colectivos are, essentially, they're Maduro's thugs.
Paid goons.
Hired goons. So they're bought, and then what they'll do is they'll patrol the city. And if there's any type of demonstrations or outbreaks, they will fire indiscriminately at a crowd, not caring who they hit, man, woman, or child. And as a result of that, there were very, very few Venezuelans on the streets. The only Venezuelans that were actually on the streets in Caracas were those who had to go to a petrol station, who literally had no other choice. But for the rest of the people, no. Look, Delcy Rodriguez, who is now the interim president,
sworn in this morning,
she is the daughter of a far-left terrorist. This is a woman who has communism flowing through her veins. She was one of Maduro's henchmen. She was there when he was kidnapping people, murdering them, torturing them. There is no change. And underneath her, there are two people, the head of the army and the head of Homeland Security. And these are the two men who Venezuelans fear the most. So the apparatus is still there. And you look at it and you think, has anything really changed? Because, and I'll make this point, a lot of Venezuelans were really hopeful when Chavez died in 2013. And if anything, it got worse.
Yeah. Do you think, I mean, geopolitical cynicism, 4D chess, criminology, Trumpology, Don politics. The biggest mistake in a regime change situation is leaving a vacuum. You take out the entire regime, you gut it, you fillet it, and whoosh, it's bad people take its place. Bad actors step in. We've seen it in Libya, we've seen it in Syria, we've seen it in Iraq, Afghanistan, you name it, we've seen it before. Yeah. Do you think is there method to this madness in the fact that they're sort of leaving the regime in place and sort of going for incremental change? Or do you think Trump just doesn't give a flying... Can I swear? Yeah, Producer Vic says I can swear. Flying fuck. And actually, he just wants the oil and he can do business with them and it'll be business, gunboat business.
Well, look, firstly, it's actually in America's interest that they have a stable Venezuela. Yeah. That is really important because if you look at, for instance, gangs like, and the vast majority, and I need to make this point, the vast majority of Venezuelans are peaceful, who all they want is to be able to live a life free from tyranny and suffering. However, there have been a very small percentage of Venezuelans who went to the United States, members of El Tren de Aragua, which is a notorious gang, and created mayhem and havoc. And you have a country that is fundamentally unstable, that will then affect other countries, other neighbouring countries. So for the United States, it is a good thing to have a strong and stable Venezuela. The question is, how do you achieve that goal? And if I'm being honest, I don't really have the answer to that. And I don't know if anybody in the Trump administration does either.
Other than Marco Rubio putting on his sash and taking his... But when you hear Donald Trump say, we're running Venezuela, I mean, obviously you take him literally, that would involve, boots on the ground and Marco Rubio, running the country. It's clearly not what is happening, though. But do you think they will be able... Do you think this, as you say, this die-hard-in-the-wall, socialist, Nepo baby, who's now the vice president, do you... when he says that she's playing ball and she'll do what we want and she will open up the oil contracts and allow US firms to reclaim the stolen infrastructure and blah, 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 blah. Is that what he means by we're running Venezuela? Or do you think he's just talking gibberish?
Well, it could be. It could be. I think the only... Let's be honest, none of us know the answer. The only thing that we do know is that at the moment, it's Delcy Rodriguez in charge. I don't think she's going to muck about. I think she's seen what's happened to her boss. I think she's pretty clear what will happen.
Is there a view that perhaps she might have even had a little bit of pre-chat with the Americans?
Well, the rumour is that there was a bit of pre-chat with the Venezuelans.
That's what I mean. But like someone lit up where he was, right?
Yeah. But the situation, as I said, in Venezuela was untenable. And ultimately, everybody acts in their own best interest.
Yes, of course.
So perhaps what I ideally hope is that this can be solved in a way that is peaceful. Because at the moment, you're looking at it and you're thinking to yourself, this could go very wrong very quickly.
As it has done before with American experiments in Latin America and American experiments with regime change. It can literally turn overnight. So...
And also, as well, you then go, right, it's not just about Venezuela. It's not just about their relationship with the United States. What's happening with China?
Yep.
Because China now have had their nose put out of joint. How are they going to respond? How is Russia going to respond? Yeah. What effect is this going to have on the price of oil?
Well, there's the one argument, and someone was making it very eloquently to me yesterday, American in the Trump world, who basically said... you've just taken on $303 billion, billion barrels of, America now, if they pull this off in the next week, 2 weeks, 3 weeks or so, and they do get the American firms back in there is some form of power sharing, sort of power guiding alliance set up. America taking on a vast, biggest oil reserve on the planet fundamentally changes the oil game across the world. And if the plan is to choke off the Putin war machine by keeping oil below $50 a barrel, this gives America the whip hand.
It absolutely does. And the thing with Venezuelan oil is it's very versatile as an oil. It can be used for many different things. So there's some types of petroleum that can really only be used to make petrol.
Yeah.
One of the great things about Venezuelan oil is it can be used for anything from petrol right the way through to making tar for the road. So this is a very, very rich country. And it's not just the oil. It's also the natural gas. It's also natural minerals. It is an absolute motherload of resources. So for Americans, if they can come in and exploit it, they're going to be able to make a lot of money very, very quickly. And not only that, that is going to change. It's going to change the world.
Well, hopefully. I mean, A removes power from autocratic Gulf kingdoms as well. If one of their biggest global powers is the ability to manipulate the oil markets, that moves away. As we said, it hopefully can bring Russia to the table, ideally. So it's not all bad.
No, it's not all bad. And we also have to remember as well that for practically every single Venezuelan, the fact that Nicolás Maduro and his wife, and I'll touch on his wife very quickly in a second, the fact that they are not there is a cause of celebration. Yeah. My mother was in tears. I was talking to my cousin who lives actually in Washington, D.C., and he was telling me if things change, maybe it's a chance for me to go home.
Yeah.
And that for a lot of Venezuelans who woke up on that Saturday morning,
I suddenly thought I might be home.
I might be able to go home because the Venezuelan people, Venezuela is one of the most beautiful countries on earth. There's a joke that always goes around, Venezuelans don't travel because why would you?
That's when what the French say as well.
Yeah, but the French are arrogant. It's different. It's nice. It's not Venezuela.
It's all right, yeah.
But for a lot of Venezuelans, that is the hope. And one of the things that I never knew, but talking to a friend of mine, was that Maduro's wife was even more hated than Nicolás Maduro.
Wow.
Because she started off, she was a politician. She obviously got married to Maduro. And what was interesting is that he was actually saying that she is seen as more cruel, she's more despotic, and also she's the one who is also probably the brains behind the operation. Because there have been several clips of Maduro trying to do mental maths when he's doing his speeches to the nation and getting even the most basic sums wrong.
Yeah,
so,
seen those, yeah.
Yeah, so people are going, well, it seems like she's actually the brains behind the operation.
Wouldn't be the first despot in history to have sort of a female power behind the
Lady Macbeth,
behind the leather glove, so to speak. You can think of certainly in Latin America as well. So I want to talk about the other issue that's arisen in the last sort of 96 hours, in the fact that Donald Trump's gunboat diplomacy, whatever we're calling it, Don Roe mantra, cleaning up his backyard. Venezuela, Cuba, two very different, two very similar, experiments in human misery. Greenland. Now, last time I checked, they ain't communist. Denmark isn't. I mean, Denmark's high tax and high welfare, and I think they may have had a weird, awkward experimentation with some sterilisation in the 60s. But they're not communists either.
No.
They're members of NATO. They're quite nice people as well. Every time I've met a Dane, I don't think I've met a particularly offensive Dane in my life. Trump, Marco Rubio said the other night, Venezuela's action, the action in Venezuela on Saturday proved to everyone around the world that you have to take Donald Trump seriously when he says something. Fine. In that case, we really do need to take his threats to Greenland seriously.
And I think...
because he's reiterated it in the last 24 hours.
And it's not just Greenland, it's Colombia. So he's openly threatening...
Mexico.
Yeah.
Who he's hosting the World Cup with this year. That could be a pretty awkward World Cup opening ceremony if he's a... Or maybe we could kidnap them there, yeah.
And he's openly threatened the Colombian president. So you're going... And look, with Trump, the thing that we always know is that a lot of it is bluff and bluster. But the fact that he's done this, it's fundamentally changed the way the world sees Trump. So, again, it puts the rest of the world on a completely different footing, where they look at him and they're uncertain. Is he telling the truth? Is he making a play? Is this just bluff and bluster?
Is this pressure? Yeah.
Is this pressure? So what's going to happen? But I think the world will respond very, very differently if something happens with Greenland than if it does with Venezuela.
I think you've discussed on your podcast the window of possibles. Is of what we conceivably believe to be true. You said you were deeply shocked by what happened in Caracas the other night. How surprised would you be, or would there be a niggling, oh my God, he's actually done it, if you woke up, as we all did the other day, and thought, to a Truth Social from Donald Trump, standing there giving thumbs up with a penguin in Greenland. He's gone and bloody done it. That was my instinct when I first woke up. Weirdly, I woke up as it was kind of happening. So, oh my God, he's actually bloody done it. Do you think we're ever going to get that, oh God, he's actually done it with Greenland?
I hope not, because, look, at the moment, with the actions in Venezuela, it is defensible. I'm not sure how defensible it is if he goes after Greenland. And again, what that does to the rest of the world, what that does to... I mean, it's essentially taking land from an EU country.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean...
There's doctrines, and the Monroe Doctrine, there's hemispheres, and there's columns on the map. I mean... I just don't think he would be that stupid, right?
No, it's interesting because you asked me this question, and when most people ask me questions of this nature, I've considered them, but I haven't actually considered that because it's so far outside the realms of possibility.
The window hasn't moved that far.
Yeah, but to me, it would be an act of complete lunacy.
Yeah.
But we're entering the point
of lunacy.
Yeah, where you go, is it actually possible? And I sincerely hope it isn't. And I hope he doesn't do that. And these are just idle words and threats. But it is incredibly worrying.
I think we're going to see movement in Cuba and Colombia. My gut instinct says that he's actually trying to put pressure on Denmark just to up the stakes a little bit rather than actually do it. But then, it's not like he's moving when he moved the aircraft carrier to the Caribbean Sea, we kind of knew he was in business, right?
No, absolutely.
But I think we keep an eye on the aircraft carrier moves. And I don't think we're quite there yet. One that I thought was really interesting on Greenland, it's sort of given quivering jellies, as Boris Johnson might describe them. People like Keir Starmer. Suddenly they had an in today. They spent the last 96 hours going, oh God, what do I say? Blink, 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 blink. I like international law, but I like Donald Trump. What do I do? The Greenland thing really has given them all an in. We've gone, right, OK, this is easy. We stand with Greenland. They're a NATO member. They're our European allies. And it's almost it's given all the people that were sort of reeling for something to say about Caracas a chance to completely ignore that and jump on it. That was a sort of taste of what we'll get. I mean, I just can't see him doing it, right?
Oh, look, or maybe it's a Trumpian tactic so that we're all talking about Greenland or Mexico.
Rather than the communists still in power.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, he's very good at, at changing the dial. Well, just while we're sort of running out of time, but I'm fascinated by this. It's been a fascinating conversation. On Keir Starmer, on Britain, where does Britain and Europe fit in this new world of spheres of influence? So, if we're not in if you don't have a sphere of influence, you're in one. It feels to me like we're really in a sort of crossroads moment as a country. And we talk about this a lot on the show of where we are, of where the West is that actually Keir Starmer's desperate to ride two horses. Britain is desperate to ride two horses of staying close to the EU, having left the EU, but staying in its orbit, but also the special relationship and our ties to America. It feels to me like that we're running out of road as a country. Britain's running out of road as a country. And at some point, we've got to pick a side, right?
I think we're running out of road as a country, not only in that
generally.
aspect, but generally. If you look at it financially, culturally, militarily, societally, we are going to face some pretty bleak choices that are coming down the path.
Yeah.
And that's where we are as a country.
Well,
we actually need to have some pretty painful discussions.
Yeah.
Because for the last few years, we've been living in a fairy world where we've been essentially spending far more than we earn.
Well, look at it. It's 111 billion quid a year on debt interest. 700 billion, I think it is, on the NHS, or will be by the end of this decade. Ridiculous, insane amounts of benefit spending which we can't afford. Plus, we just promised to put up defence spending to 5%, already at the highest tax burden in history, with the most unpopular prime minister and government since polling was invented. I mean, something's going to pop soon, right?
It has to pop. It has to pop. And I want to make it clear as well. This isn't just Keir Starmer's fault.
No, I don't believe so either. Yeah.
No, I mean, 14 years of a Conservative Party who were quite frankly not fit for purpose and gaslit an entire nation. In the words of Kemi Badenoch, we spoke right but governed left. So that's what we had. So we have come to the point now where Britain is broken. Yeah. And we have to admit that. And it's only by admitting that can we actually try and see if we can salvage this country.
It's really interesting. I think this government is actually governing quite left, trying to speak quite right. Yeah. the tables are turned. Francis, I've got to let you go. It's been fascinating. A bit of a bleak ending there. Just final question for both Venezuela and for Britain. Fast forward to what date is today? The 4th of January, 5th of January? 5th of January 2026. You'll have a standing invite to come back on this show on the 5th of January 2027. Is Venezuela going to be in a better place? And is Britain going to be in a better place?
Well, if things are going, Venezuela will probably be in a better place than Britain.
Maybe we'll do the show in Venezuela.
Yeah, exactly. We'll be doing it in shirts and Hawaiian shirts. But no, hopefully, look, as far as Venezuela goes, that we can only hope and pray. But I think, and it's really important to reiterate this, if anybody tells you that they know where this is going to go, they're a liar. We are in completely uncharted waters, and all we can hope for is that the things resolve themselves peacefully and it doesn't descend into chaos.
And Britain will leave. Britain will leave for another day.
Yeah.
So thank you very much.
Pleasure.
Great to see you. Thank you. Don't go anywhere. Don't forget to subscribe on YouTube. Lots more. Harry Cole saves the West. Hit subscribe.